Hey guys, this is Forsaken Reality here with the second episode of the Mario Power-Ups project. And in this episode, we're working on our shrink. So I made a couple slight adjustments to make this a little better so that the camera and the shrink looks a little better when it moves with it. And I also set up animation differences so that it'll play a different animation depending on your growing or not. And we'll learn about using interfaces as well and the usefulness of those to pass variables between two classes without actually referencing a specific blueprint in it. So like we'll be able to get variables in our animation blueprint like our giant from our character without actually casting to our character. So without further ado, we will get into that. So I'm just gonna move this project out of the way. You'll notice if you close out of your project and reopened it, you'll have a blank screen like this. Simple fix for that is go to your project settings, go to your maps, and because we moved around some things, these things got reset. So just set your default game mode there. And your map will be reset right there. So now when you open up your engine, it will now set the proper game mode and map when it loads. We can just open up our map for now though. Okay, so blueprints, pickup, and master pickup is the first thing we're going to want to open up because we're going to work on our shrink. And the shrink is going to be very similar to the grow, so we can actually copy this, Control C and Control V. So everything for the grow. Right click, custom event. We'll call this shrink. And this event is going to run on a timer after a timer finishes when this event finishes. So we want to type in timer and we'll set timer by event. And the event, we could have created the event from here or plug it directly in like this, or right click, create an event. Or yeah, that's what we actually want to do. We could have right clicked and added a custom event. But we want the dispatcher, so we make it look a little cleaner. And we're just going to select our function shrink so that when this finishes, it will go down here, set timer by event, and when this timer is finished up, so say we have 5, it will run the shrink event, and then it will play through everything here. So run shrink event after the timer when this event is called. Just gonna move this down a little bit more. And we're not gonna need this check. Actually, we will. We're not gonna need this check. And we're going to move this variable, tick this off when the timeline finishes. So after we finish shrinking, which was that means. And if we are a giant, we will play this. So I'll make sure that we won't be able to ever shrink for some reason. I can't think of any reason we'll ever play unless you accidentally set it somewhere. Then it won't play it unless you're actually a giant. Our timeline. Just gonna write it shrink timeline. And if we are a giant, I'm just gonna reverse from the end, so it plays the exact same one, just from the reverse. And we're gonna make some changes to our two things here. First, I want to actually open up my speed function, and I'm going to remove this interpolation because it's not really needed. And whatever our speed input is here will now be our speed set to. And this is our shrink yet. So shrink, I'm going to set to 400 for my default walk speed. I'll keep that 500 up there. And I think I made some adjustments to the spring arm. Yes, I did. So we're going to set the spring arm interpolation to 4. And our adjustment is going to be to 800. And our adjustment down here for the arm length is 600. And our field of view, which is, we'll just set back to 90. We're going to basically just play the growth timeline in reverse to get to there. And sending some quick references for or reference notes. So now we have that set up. That's good enough for now. We're going to test our shrinking. So first of all, I'm going to actually set a variable here so that you can adjust it by the variable. Promote to variable. That'll be the timer variable we'll use for our power-ups. And for now, we're just going to keep it at default 5 so that you can see it as it's happening. Just so we won't have to wait too long for it to happen. Speed adjusts. Waits 5 seconds and it doesn't shrink. Okay. So double check this. Everything looks good in there. It's playing the shrink when the growth timeline finishes. Maybe this is for some reason me having a problem. I think it actually might be the timeline speed. I'm just gonna browse to this, get my power-ups. And yeah, it's the timeline speed. So you click this, refresh. I think it should run now. There we go. So now we have our mega mushroom growing and our mega mushroom shrinking. These comments. So now we know what these are right here. Character reference is set. I'm also going to quickly open up my character blueprint and set my spring arm to 600 because that's the default value that I had set for it, because it looks a little better. So whatever your spring arm you decide to set here, you'll want to come into your spring arm adjustment in the event graph, and when you shrink down, you want to set your default target arm length to whatever that variable is. Now we're going to work on the interface to, yeah. First, we're actually going to move the giant check to the player, because we're going to want to be able to check that in different areas that maybe this not be checked. Like the animation blueprint, for example, will be easier to check if our player is a giant than it will be to check if the item's variable giant is true. Because right now it does work. I can plug this back in and it should shrink me back down properly. Yeah. So from here, we're going to want to just go to our character, create a variable called growth. Or giant. And we'll simply just right click on our variable here, find references, and there's 4 of these, so get our character. And we'll place this one. So now it's checking it from the character. And we're going to set it on the character. If we are not already a giant, we're going to set that we are a giant and then start growing. Because in Mario, you can start kicking things as your character is like getting bigger, like in the middle of the growth springing. So this will be determining that as well. And it doesn't get disabled till after your growth finishes going off. So you get basically the longest time possible with the kicking and stuff. The little boost that you get for that using that. There's 2 more. So that they're down here. And we're gonna get giant. And set giant. And it's going to name that the shrink in our shrink timeline. And grow in our new growth timeline. And I think I'll do the interfaces in its own video because I think it'll make a little more sense. I'm going to need a little bit of time to explain them so they make a little more sense as well, rather than just adding it on to the end of this video. So that's going to be everything for this episode. If you found this video helpful and want to see more, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new tutorial video uploads. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, feel free to leave those in the comment section below, or join my community Discord server using the link in the description. Thanks, and I'll see you all in the next episode.